Hi, I'm Claire. I work at Pug Pig, and I'm going to talk about product and development, but luckily in quite a different way to the way that Sharon talked about it. In fact, I think your talk is basically a list of things to do for me, so that's actually quite well timed, personally. I'm going to talk about what it's like to be the sole developer on a project, on a product actually, and then kind of transition through building a team and then turning into a product manager. So I guess kind of what you were suggesting that people could do. So first, a bit of context. So we are a software company. We build digital publishing software, which powers things like national newspapers, weekly, monthly magazines, education stuff, internal comms, anything where you want to like publish a bunch of content on a regular basis. And we spent, the company is like 5 years old, and we spent the first like 3 or 4 years doing client-based projects. And in fact, one of my clients is in the room here. It's okay, I'm not going to be rude about clients for you. Yeah, so we're doing lots of custom client projects. And we realized after a while that actually people generally don't want to be supporting custom code and have to do loads of development just to get a relatively simple publishing app out there. So we started creating products that work out of the box and can effectively just be coloured in and then used. And so we started with the native apps, and then we moved on to looking at the authoring tools to create your content, and also distribution service to actually get your content out there, which would also look after things like analytics and your CDN and all that kind of stuff. So completely everything is done for you. I'm going to talk about the authoring part of that today because that's the product that I work on. And that is called Pug Big Express. It's an authoring tool that allows you to create and publish beautiful, responsive content for your app. This is a super simple diagram of the structure of Express. So it allows you to create different types of content, and you can import them from a different place as well. And it also allows you to customize that content. So a non-techie person can go in and select from an array of skins, which is like the look and feel of the content. They can pick highlight colors, they can do all kinds of stuff like that. And then with a bit of development skills, you can add custom fonts, custom CSS, and do some custom layouts. So there are like different levels of customization that you can apply. It's built on WordPress, because it's a kind of a familiar tool to lots of people already. So some of your training is done for you. There's a good plugin ecosystem out there, so lots of things are already done for you. And of course it's free. And so it's become pretty flexible, and it allows you to create, so these are 3 of our current clients. Cyclists on the left, and that's just a completely out-of-the-box template. John Lewis, Edition Magazine in the middle. Their guy that looks after it is a developer, so he does some custom stuff in there. And then on the right here, this is a yachting magazine. It's really good read, actually. Like, there are loads of yachting gadgets you just would never knew existed. Like, there's an inflatable swimming pool, so if you're out in the middle of the sea, you can blow this thing up and make like a 5x5 swimming pool in the middle of the sea. Like, I don't know why you would, but you can. And so, like any good Tarantino movie, it's very similar, Tarantino movie. I'm going to start my story not chronologically, but in the middle. At the most dramatic part, which happens to be the middle, when everything sucked. And this is a bit of an awkward thing to say about your job, especially when you still work for the same company and your clients are in the room. And then also you decide to do a run-through of your talk the day before, just so you can make sure it's going to go okay, and then you realise you're saying this in front of your colleagues. But yeah, so why did everything suck? And this was at the point where the product was in full swing, full development swing. When I look back now, with hindsight, I can see why I started feeling like this. And it was because I was working on the product on my own, and I didn't have a team around me. Like, I wasn't working with other developers or designers or anything like that. I think maybe I was product developer because I was driving the product and developing the product. Well, I've just learnt that phrase now. There you go.
I made it up.
Oh, right, cool. I'm going to use it. And this is what I found. And I think this is probably applicable to anybody working on a project of any kind on their own for a long time. Or maybe not, maybe it's just me, I don't know. But so I found that it was easy, it was easy to get bored and therefore lazy. And I think this is because I didn't have interaction with other people on a daily basis. There weren't other people who knew the product like I did, and who I could go to with questions and have discussions about really easily. There was this kind of barrier between everybody else because they didn't know the ins and outs of the product. There were no deadlines. The difference in working on kind of client projects and working with multiple clients at a time on relatively short timescales at certain times, there's like a really fast-paced environment, I imagine a bit more like an agency. To then suddenly working on one product the whole time on my own just seemed really stark. And I had to do my own time management, basically. And it meant that I had to plan my time and then actually follow my plan to get shit done. Otherwise, I just didn't. I had limited resources because it was just me. There's no one to ask. And nothing changes. So if you go on holiday for like a week or two and then you come back, your code base is exactly the same as it was when you left, and nothing's been fixed and nothing's been finished. And you knew that because you didn't hand it over to anyone when you left, but kind of hoped that maybe the like code fairies would pop in and just like fix that regex or, you know, whatever. They didn't. And yeah, sorry, but yeah, just making it all up. And I think it's easier to make it up with other people than on your own. So that's the dramatic part. But it wasn't like that in the beginning. So there's a little timeline at the bottom here, but I realise now the bottom isn't the best place for it because you can't really see it, but we're at the beginning now. And it was really exciting, and the idea of building a product was really exciting, and I'd been working on similar types of things for a few years, so I felt like I had the expertise to do this well. And making decisions was easy because it was just me, and I was, you know, kind of able to do all this kind of stuff, which meant that it went really quickly. So because I could make the decisions immediately, I made fast progress. I wasn't faffing with Jira. Sorry, product managers. I just had a to-do list, so it was nice. No design by committee, and I had control over the whole code base. So it seemed like this really nice thing that I owned. Yeah, it was going really well. And then it kind of dawned on me that I was making a product that people are going to use and people are going to see, and they're going to do that for a long time, hopefully. And I realized how naming things is really hard. Like, I know we all say that naming things is hard anyway, but it's really hard when you know people are going to be looking at those words that you've chosen to describe this product. So I mentioned the skins earlier, and so this is part of the customization functionality that you have within Express. And so you can picture the scene. We're like building towards V1, and we have a bunch of partners and clients that have come in, and we're presenting to them about all the stuff that the changes that we're making in product and very exciting things that we're working on. And I'm talking about how amazing Express is and everything that it does. And the day finishes, and that's lovely. And we get an email later that evening from one of our partners, and he says, "It all sounds really good, but you might want to think about making one more skin, you know, build another skin, because people don't really want to hear about 4 skins all the time." I was so humiliated. You cannot believe how many times I said 4 skins. Like, I know I'm saying it again and I'm doing it to myself, but it's ridiculous. Yeah. Apparently no one around me noticed either, which is, I don't know whether to believe them or not. Maybe they're lying to me, I'm not sure, but anyway. Yeah, my CEO wasn't super happy about it. That's not the only problem on this slide, though, unfortunately. I don't know if you can figure out the other thing that might be wrong with this. When we talk internally about this part of the product, because it's part of our day-to-day, we just refer to the skins by their name, so clean brand, whatever. When other people talk about it, like our clients and stuff, they tend to say the whole phrase. So clean skin, brand skin, dark skin. I was like, what? Yeah, really awkward, insensitive, terrible, like that, yeah, it's really bad. So that's changing name. But it's the kind of thing that you don't realise, you don't hear it when you say it yourself. And when someone says it back to you, you suddenly realise, well, you've named your product. Yeah, naming things is really hard. So we're back here in the middle now, when everything sucked. So it started really well. Things kind of progressed. We were doing presentations and stuff. But then I was working on my own for too long, and everything started to suck. So I did what I recommend everyone should do when this happens, and I went on holiday. Yeah, sorry, I'm always going on holiday. But I went on holiday and I did some yoga in front of the sea. I felt much better. And it also happened to coincide with growth in our team. So we hired 2 junior developers. And that meant then we rearranged the seating plans. So we actually made a nice table of like front end, design, server. We had a good mix of people. And people had actually gone live on the product by this point. So there was kind of excitement about what people are doing with this stuff that we've made and how they're using it and all that kind of stuff. And so the logical step at this point was for me to step away from the code. So spend my time kind of figuring out where the product should go and kind of helping other people work on it and learn the code base and figure out how things should go. And I think I suppose this is the key point. This is the point when I kind of shift role from being a full-time developer, that's just all I do, just a developer, people say that, to being a like techie, product manager, developer-y kind of person, helping these juniors get going and doing all that kind of stuff. And I think what helped with that role shift was the break. Because I think if you go home on a Friday at 6 and you come in on a Monday at 9-ish, it's going to be really difficult just to do a completely different thing. And while I was away, luckily everyone had got stuck in to the code base, which again is a bit of a funny thing because when you have been writing something for ages and you finally let other people look at it, it feels a bit like someone's going through your bedroom drawers without you in the room. And this is a quote from Mark Jones, mentioned earlier, couldn't be here. Yeah, it's just really weird. And you know, because it's going to be like when you look at somebody else's code and you pick out all the crap bits. And you're like, why do they do it like that? And you also know in your code where all the terrible things are and, the like horrible function names and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so there's something just really weird about people kind of looking at it when you're not there. But so for me, the big changes that I noticed when I kind of made that role shift was I had to start coordinating things. So people in work, matching the right people with the right bits of work, sorting out releases, which I had been doing anyway, but now other people's code is going into my releases. So I'm like, oh, it's a bit weird. And comms about the new features, so making sure everybody knows what it is that we're doing and releasing and what we're going to be doing next and all that kind of stuff. Handling feature requests and feature planning. Feature requests come from anywhere, like CEO, creative director, project managers, anyone in the company, and then of course clients as well. And yeah, and actually I think it's really nice. I really like getting feature requests. But I suppose the thing that you have to learn is how to say no, how and when to say no, and what to plan in. And for me, that's I suppose the kind of process that I'm going through now, just figuring out how to sort through all of that feedback that I'm getting. I get to introduce shiny new things. So if I decide that we should do a different workflow, then we get to do a different workflow, which I like. Saying no, I already mentioned. And I now spend my time in different tools. So I just felt like I had to have some code in here, because otherwise it would be weird. So there's a little bit of HTML with some moustaches. So rather than spending my time in Sublime, I still do spend time in Sublime, but I also spend a lot of time in Jira faffing. Yeah, and things like Trello for road mapping. I don't know what kind of tools you use for road mapping, but at the moment we're using Trello, which is pretty cool. And Slack, I'm on Slack a lot, answering questions, asking questions, figuring out what the question means, all that kind of stuff. And finally, we're a team. So it's really nice to look back now and see that, recognize that low point and kind of just be able to say that actually I wasn't having a very good time, because now we're a team and it's going really well. And we have the kind of, well, so we've introduced a bunch of stuff. So this is how I was feeling before, and this is the kind of thing we're up to now. So we've got a proper workflow, we're doing pull requests, we're doing code reviews, all that kind of stuff. We do regular releases as much as possible, and we are going to try and work towards continuous development. We've got visual regression tests, and we're working on unit testing. So it's kind of all becoming real, I suppose. And we're looking into creating a user community as well, which if anyone has ever done, I'd be really interested to know what you used and how it went and things like that, because I've never done that before. Yeah, so that'd be cool. And so my conclusions are, after telling you my tale, working on your own is hard, holidays are good, and products are best when they're made by many. Sorry.